from a clean sheet. As Mr. President had said, he would like to be seen as a reformer, and that there are some, if you're going to be reforming, there are going to be some hard, tough, bold, painful even decisions that will have to be taken. He was sort of explaining the situation that most Nigerians are perceiving out of, this new dawn, talking about his the renewal agenda, economic renewal, and all of that. But the part that we ourselves, as Nigerians, on whose behalf all of this is being done, it's not insignificant, because I think I've heard it observed that, for instance, a lot of it is in the public sector, if not all of it. It's all about infrastructure, about transportation, about the digital economy and all of that. These are things that Nigerians, that any country, it just happens to be us, we're talking about us now, need to be paying for. I heard a distinguished professor talk about Nigerians love slick infrastructure. They admire it when they see it elsewhere. But because those are often not, tagged with the responsibility, for instance, you have expressways, tolls will be paid on those expressways. You have waterways, tolls will be paid. Nigerians don't understand that. You know that we're just beginning to come out of a notion that electricity should be almost free because I'm a Nigerian, I exist here, I live here, there is a government. What is government doing? It's a question that Nigerians don't want to explore too deeply. So where I'm going about all of this is that there is a part, just as the president and his team are working round the clock on all of this, there's the part when it comes to the payback. Even as you had explained, some of those deals don't come into, they don't come to maturity. I mean, they don't come to, you don't have to begin to repay them immediately. There's some moratorium. But we have to get used to it. Are you sure that, and here, this leads directly into corruption within the Nigerian system. Tolls collected, not handed over, and all those kind of things. Mr. President said that some tough decisions were being made. Do you think this has also been accounted for, that what has been referred to as the DNA of Nigerians when it comes to these sorts of matters? I mean, we will accept it when we hear that, oh, it's tough to live in America, it's tough to live in the UK. You cannot escape paying your dues. You pay for water, you pay for electricity, you pay for all of this, and people accept that, in as long as it is there. But bring the same thing here, and our people begin to be very, very uncomfortable. So I'm asking about the attitude of the Nigerian to these good times that Mr. President is setting up. But these good times do not come without a cost. How optimistic are you that Nigerians are fully in understanding on all of these aspects?
Well, the truth of the matter, you have properly established the framework, I subscribe to that analysis, as it were. Well, I don't think it's a hopeless situation,
Okay.
One, we must first commend Mr. President for the determination to reform, and because he has one or two options. Being a politician, he could take the easy, popular route, where we do business as usual, and continue the culture as we have had, over the past so many years, and for every of his policy, it will be hailed and it will be popular. But again, the truth of the matter is, over the years, we have been digging ourselves into a hole. And for every passing administration, we go deeper into that hole. So for a politician, especially a popular one, to take the route of hard-nosed but constructive reformation should be commended, because we have seen 1, 2, 3, especially his decision on fuel subsidy, for instance, removal of fuel subsidy, harmonization of the foreign exchange windows, the policy trust of the Band A, now popular called Band A, you know, that's a differentiation, pricing differentiation for electric usage, and a number of others are talking to how we are supposed to pay appropriately for services rendered, and that is good. Over time, we win ourselves out of that seeming paradise-like welfare state. A welfare state, the way we are saying it, is where the government, you know, is responsible for everything. But I think it's wrong. There's no welfare state anywhere any longer. Even back in those days when you still have the dominance of the Soviet system, the Marxist system, where perhaps wrongly there was that outlook or that belief that the government is responsible for everything. No, the government is responsible for critical aspects, you know, of development, and Nigeria is still driving that, you know, within the context of the reform of Mr. President. For instance, a professor of veterinary study came out about 2 or 3 days ago to tell us that to train a veterinary doctor for a period of 4 years, you need to spend 45 million naira. 45 million naira. That's the standard template payment. But in Nigeria university, especially federal government-owned university, the average, you know, that you spend through those 4 years will be less than 4 million, more or less, you know, for tuition and others. So now what that tells us is that education is seriously, overwhelmingly subsidized in Nigeria. And that is a pass mark for us. We have not always considered that. And the money to subsidize education must come from somewhere, you know. Perhaps if we start understanding the fact that education being subsidized is actually a cost to government. And because it is a cost to government, there should be a consideration for how citizens will be responsible for payment of services in other side, you know. As poor as our health services are, it's still accessing health services is still the cheapest possible, you know, health platform anywhere in Africa, you know, especially in general government-owned general hospitals, federal government-owned general hospitals, federal government tertiary hospitals, the teaching hospitals, you know, and these are areas or segments of development. These are development catalysts that we need to concentrate on in terms of funding. So it should not be about consumables, you know, like fuel, for instance, that we have made a traditional, long-standing, you know, must be free item. So I think we need to educate or continue to enlighten Nigerians about the trade-off that we need to make going forward. The trade-off of paying for certain services, and of course the trade-off of enjoying the benefits of certain services. And that if we've experienced train service on the standard gauge over a period of time between Kaduna and Abuja, between Ibadan and Lagos. And those who had enjoyed the benefits of these services know that it is what they are paying for is worthy of it. You know, the value is worthy of it. And I believe that when government is also able to provide this kind of service in an efficient manner, Nigerians will be appreciative of it, and of course will be willing to pay for it.
Indeed. The other thing, of course, is that, you know, concentrating for the moment on, you know, the corollary of all of these explorations that the president is making, which is that it's not charity, it's going to have to be paid for, but at least we're being provided with a template, with an opportunity to advance if we're willing to become disciplined on it. There's this whole matter about what is it that Nigeria is actually bringing to the table. Okay, we hear about, unfortunately, crude oil is our principal asset. That's a sovereign asset. But we don't add value to it. If we still have cocoa, I'm not too sure what the figures are there, we don't add value to it the way Ivory Coast is reported to be attempting to do in its own case. It has a lot of cocoa, and it is saying that, you know what, we can't be exporting this thing crude anymore for you to now be sending it right back to us, you know, with up to 10 times the price. There's that aspect of the equation too. How do we get into the habit of also being able to export more than crude value, to be adding some level of finishing so that we can begin to have something at all? We have to